Hey there, vassals. Welcome to another podcast on the wonderful world that is Dune, or many worlds that are in the Duneverse. My name is Bina 007. I'm going to be your host today for our rewatch of the original David Lynch version of Dune. I'm joined today by Dune Lawmaster Patrick.
Well, again, lore master, enthusiast, I would say. Greetings.
And by my fellow Dune newbie, Kat.
Hi.
And so, for those of you who would like to join along at home, we will probably spoil anything from book one of the Dune series, because that's all that Kat and I have read. And we will not spoil the new movie starring Timothée Chalamet, partly because two of the three of us haven't seen it. Although, insofar as we're talking about book one, it will be interesting to talk to Patrick about what the movie shows, because it's not really a spoiler. So, actually, yeah, do talk about the movie, Patrick. And obviously, we'll be talking about this movie by David Lynch. So, just before we start watching, how many of us have seen it before? So, Kat, have you watched this movie before?
Nope. The most I've seen is clips. So
Excellent. Oh, that's gonna be so cool. So we're gonna get your fresh reactions. Patrick, I'm assuming you've seen it a couple times.
A couple, yeah, more than just a couple. It was the imagery was in my head the first time I read the books because I've watched the movie before. So
Okay.
so the pageantry and everything, that's what I imagine when I read the books.
Okay. So I guess I'm in the middle because I have seen it a couple times and I'd seen the movie well, like decades before I read the book. And partly because I was a David Lynch fan and a fan of cinema history. And this is such an iconic and notorious film for being seen as problematic and a commercial failure and arguably a narrative failure, and yet containing such influential imagery and iconic imagery. Um, Much of it taken, I think, from the original Jodorowsky Dune commission of all those H.R. Geiger visuals, and maybe it's original sort of visuals that it's become kind of part of the fabric of how we feel about sci-fi and fantasy on screen, and so influential. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you think, Kat. I think it's going to be amazing to revisit it with you guys. If you want to play along at home, you need to get your copy of the film, not to the Universal logo or any logo that you might have from production companies in your own country, but to where the screen is black and it displays the title, "This film is dedicated to Federico De Laurentiis," very, very famous movie producer. So with that, I'm going to count 3, 2, 1, play. And I'm hoping that we'll all press play and be broadly in sync. We'll see how this goes. So 3, 2, 1, play. Here we go. Dino De Laurentiis presents David Lynch film. It feels kind of epic, right?
Yes, I'm getting goosebumps again. I love it.
Oh, and these beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
So this is Virginia Madsen, playing who we now know is Princess Irulan. But I think when I was watching this before having read the books, I was like, "Who's this? Who's this woman?"
Mm.
The year 10191. I love this hair. I think this is very timeless, and I think this really feeds into a lot of. Well, I suppose Star Wars original film had been out, but I think a lot of some of that elaborate hair and stuff that you see with later Star Wars heroines comes from this.
But for me, it kind of ties it into like real history, that it's sort of like semi-gothic, almost like a, yeah, it feels like it could exist in our history as well.
mhm. Just from the color there, I'm getting a very much 16th century vibe.
Yeah,
So
Elizabethan.
And that's actually, I was starting to watch some of the extras, and one of the designers was saying it's interesting that it doesn't feel that futuristic in its costume. So there's just so much different global bits of history. It's very hard to place it. It feels like the movie's aged because of the special effects and stuff, but actually not because of the costumes, which is what normally happens.
Shaddam IV, my father. In this time, the most precious substance in the universe is the spice melange.
So we're getting the intro, which I suppose means that they're trying to follow what the book's like by having the framing device of this history.
Yeah.
The spice is vital to space travel.
And then we get the first glimpse of Dune of Toto's music.
Someone needs to. I'm hearing the movie a bit too loud in the background, so we're going to get done for copyright. So we need to turn it down a little bit and put the subtitles on. One of you.
That was probably me. There we go.
Oh yes.
Yeah, composed and performed by Toto.
Spice exists.
Which isn't necessarily like a band you might think of for doing this, right?
No, but it does blend very well into the fact that I actually also love Toto as a band. So, I mean, it's difficult
So
for me to not love it.
Did you know Toto before this, or did this
Yes.
get you into Toto?
No. My father, my mom both listened to it. So I'd heard like Africa and Hold the Line and all those classics, and then I saw by happenstance that they were making the music for this, or that they made the music for this.
Yeah. I did not know that Toto was involved at all. So that's awesome. But also just starting with a massive exposition dump that probably not too many people are going to be able to follow, let alone remember. I get that it's necessary, but it's like, well.
But that's a bit like the books, isn't it? I mean, they don't make much concession to the casual reader. And I think maybe that's why this film wasn't seen as a commercial success, because ultimately it wasn't, they were aiming it for the fans, but they gave it the budget that it needed, like a mainstream audience, to get its cost back, and the two were irreconcilable, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still plenty, from what I know anyway, that from the books that are left out just as product of adaptation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the problem was that it didn't. It was for the fans, but it didn't live up to the things that the fans were looking for. So it kind of, didn't do what they wanted.
Nobody was happy.
Nobody was happy. Yeah, exactly.
It was a great era, wasn't it? Like the mid-'80s for having major rock bands do fantasy films. Like I always think of Dire Straits and The Princess Bride, and people being much less pretentious and far more free with scoring, which is cool. Random doggies. So we're now in some kind of futuristic and yet medieval court. I mean, this stunning silver gown with a veil. It's like something out of, I don't know, like Lorraine Margot or something, like sort of 16th century French court.
Yeah, and then it's contrasted by the spaceship and the navigators coming out of the spaceship.
It's so hard to pin it down. It's slippery. Oh, here we go. Reverend Mother.
Yeah.
With the balding head. Is that from the books or is that David Lynch?
I think it's David Lynch. I don't recall them.
I think I might be a bit behind because I was still on laying the groundwork for the planets and stuff.
Okay.
I haven't gotten to the Reverend Mother yet.
Okay. Well, so. I've paused.
Oh no! Are you guys just talking about?
Okay, I'm going to pause as well, just for 5 seconds, and then unwind and see if
Here we go. I think.
Let us know when a bit of like a steampunk train comes through the door.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was a couple seconds behind.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully it will just about sync as we go forward. So what I find fascinating about that sort of bald Reverend Mother is she reminds me a bit of Verna Lisi in Lorraine Margot, if anyone's watched that. Just like a sort of kind of like a Medici woman who's powerful behind the scenes, poisoning people.
Yeah.
And that massive veil coming out of her headdress is so cool. This would be an amazing Halloween costume.
Or Renaissance fair.
Yeah, they throw everything at Renaissance fair. There's nothing that's not, accepted. And now the reveal for the Navigator.
So for those not watching, we should explain what on earth is going on, Patrick. What is this vision we are being presented with?
Okay, so the Navigators have been, mutated by through several centuries by the spice melange, and inside this train-like compartment, this space navigator, is floating like a giant brain child thing. Really disgusting, and it looks like it's pox face as well. Yeah, and that's basically the main person that the Emperor is beholden to, because without any navigators, you can't wage war on different planets.
So tell me something, because in the books, I like having read the first book, I had no idea a navigator didn't just look like a person with blue eyes who was a bit fucked up on space. Like, is this from David Lynch, or is this from the books, but later books you realize just how like physically malformed they are and how far they are from humans?
I mean, the thing I sometimes I can't separate them, but it's definitely part of canon that they are mutated and they're not human anymore. That's definitely part of canon. But this specific visage, I'm pretty sure that's David Lynch.
And it's pretty cool, isn't it? It's like Elephant Man / Frank. It's like a beautiful fusion of Lynch and the author.
Yeah.
Is that what you thought a navigator would look like, Kat?
I'm just making sure that, because I'm just now seeing the Navigator. So. So I'm just making sure that I'm where I should be, or if you guys need to pause and I need to catch up a bit.
What do you reckon, Patrick? Are you seeing a weird thing in glass?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, okay.
I'm at the point where they've identified Paul as a problem for the scheme that they want to unravel or want to put in motion.
I haven't quite gotten there yet.
I tell you what, if we all pause when that steamship with Navigator in it goes back out the door and holds there.
Yeah, so when they exit completely, when it's passed through the arches, I'm
yeah, and then you pause on the guy's face, looking worried with the goatee.
Yeah.
Okay, we're paused there, Kat. We'll wait for you.
Yeah.
Cool. He has an earring, by the way.
Which is kind of cool. But his outfit's very sort of like, Napoleonic era military, which is quite funny.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the way basically most our kings for the last few centuries have looked, in the way when they wear ceremonial garb.
What's it like in the new film? Is that more sort of like futuristic looking and generic, or is it still quite historically embedded in its costumes?
I would say it's less flamboyant and less, maybe that by that measure, less believable or less, rooted in actual history. I think this is very close to what you would imagine a 18th century king to look like.
Would look like, yeah. Kat, just shout out when we need to unpause and we'll unpause.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's very much. But then the new one is more updated. It looks more clean, but the cleanness is almost what makes it less believable.
Wow, Kat was really behind.
Looks like it. I've also heard Princess Irulan speaking for a long while after we were into the
Yeah, that might be
intro.
partially because I'm doing it through Amazon Prime, so
Yeah.
I don't have a DVD. I
But if it's
wonder.
the same version, this isn't a film that has lots and lots of different versions, I don't think. But we'll find
No.
out.
Might be. And I would be surprised as well and intrigued, I would say.
So I'm just Googling the costume
I did
designer.
not, yeah, I did
He-
not see this. I did not say this. I am not here. Okay. What are we looking at? Sorry. Can't help but being snarky.
Has the monster gone back through the door yet, or are you still with?
Yes, we're just now retreating.
Let us know when it's finally through the door and you're back on the old dude's face.
Yeah. Looking
Yeah.
worried.
Now?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, I'm back playing. Why would they want the Duke's son killed?
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm just looking up who did the costumes because they're so epic, and it's Bob Ringwood, who also did what did he do? He did the 1989 Batman. He did Star Trek Nemesis. He did Excalibur in 1981. Quite a few epic films, actually.
The Batman is really good.
Yeah, he
Patrick
did AI. He did the original X-Men, Batman Forever, also Batman Returns, Alien 3, Empire of the Sun, Santa Claus the movie. But this was only like his third film. That's pretty cool. Some of this set designs are really amazing as well.
Yeah, locations.
Like all the carving of the wood. Ooh,
oh yeah,
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah, young Kyle MacLachlan.
It almost feels like I'm watching Hamlet, except that he's now picking up a sort of proto iPad with star maps on it. But you know what I mean? Like his costume and his hair and the wooden sort of carvings. It feels like I could be watching like a Shakespearean play.
Yeah.
And they sort of kept that. They sort of kept that also in the new one, that it feels like it's timeless. It's history while still being the future.
I wonder if this was before or after Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because this iPad is very much like the book.
Oh, I like that. I love the Harkonnen Gady Prime. And then we got Patrick Stewart.
He's so young. They're all so young, right?
Bless him. He is a gift in this movie, from what I know.
He is substituted, replaced by
and the guy from Quantum Leap as well.
Yeah.
Smug, isn't he? Yeah, I heard you all coming. Those are some epic eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there significance to the fact that his mouth's covered with kind of red stuff? Like, are you meant to think he's sort of like been gorging on something?
Yeah. He imbues or fortifies himself with an extract, sort of like of the spice melange, as far as I remember. So
yeah, actually, that's in the books.
Yeah. And all mentats do that.
Yeah, that's Piffer. Like.
Yeah.
Ooh. Early CG. Oh,
it has to be said that would have been epic for its time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have thought, what the heck? How could that happen? What's this technology.
It looks like a video game.
What does
Yeah.
it look like in the new one? Does it look really cool?
It looks like a shield, like what you would imagine a shield to be. So, not remarkable, but it's okay. It's fine.
I would argue less is more if you want something to have longevity, right?
Yeah. It looks like a shield. It looks like what you would think a shield would look like. So that's good. It's
The one thing that I can imagine that the new movie has over this one is effects.
yeah.
It's the one big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And yet both heroes have quite extravagant brunette hair.
Mm.
Yes.
What I like about this is, I mean, this is when Sir Patrick Stewart would have still been, Royal Shakespeare Company well before Star Trek. And it shows he had a fondness for and willingness to do fantasy and sci-fi work before Star Trek and wasn't kind of snobby about it.
No, that's for sure. He is. He's taking this role very seriously as well.
Even if he's can get a little bit campy, just a little bit.
Sure. Oh, for sure.
But he's theatrical, so that's
Yeah.
it's difficult to translate. But he becomes better at it in later projects.
Yeah.
I was always used to feel that, like, Sir Alec Guinness, as much as I think he's a genius, was a bit sniffy about his role as Obi-Wan. Like, he did it earned him money, but he always thought not that he was sniffy about it in the way that Christopher Plummer disavowed Sound of Music, but he just didn't really understand what it was, and he didn't care to understand either. It was just a job.
Well, what he understood was getting percentage of all merchandise. That was
oh
good
yeah.
choice.
Money, the true universal language.
Yes.
I was at a lunch on Saturday, and one of the big discussions was who the new Bond would be, and whether it might be Henry Cavill, and whether it would just add to his franchises and money making.
Mm.
Oh, the weirding module.
It's funny that you bring up Bond because I think yesterday I got an ad for the new Bond movie on YouTube. Or at least I saw the ad somewhere. It was probably YouTube because I spend way too much time on YouTube. So
It seems to be getting good reviews, although I haven't seen anything since Quantum of Solace, and I don't think I'll bother. I'll wait for the new Bond.
And I've always I've only seen the Connery film, the first a couple of the Connery films anyway, so I haven't seen anything beyond Russia with Love. So
Okay. No, I haven't been keeping up either. Okay, now he's using that weirding tool, and yeah, it's like a voice laser.
yeah, right.
But they have never explained that you actually shouldn't use a real laser on anything like a shield.
Yeah.
So it's just we don't know why they're using a shout laser.
It's kind of cool because it's a very kind of steampunk kind of turny twisty thing.
Yeah, I
flamethrower.
With the reveal of the reading device, I got an almost Star Trek vibe. Almost.
We see
and then for me the device that Paul here is using here, the laser shooter thing, rings very, very much of rings very closely to me phasers. Star Trek phasers.
I genuinely wonder if they're using legit Napoleonic era like costumes from a costume shop.
Might be.
So this actor also looks familiar. The guy playing Duncan Idaho. I'm trying to think where I've seen. Let me get on to IMDb Pro.
And the interior is very Geiger-esque in its repeating patterns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get that all the, I get that familiarity with actors all the time, and then I'll look it up and I'll be like, I have no idea who that is.
Okay, so it's Richard Jordan who's playing Duncan Idaho. Maybe familiar to some as Brigadier General Armistead in Gettysburg. What else was he in? Hunt for Red October.
Oh, okay.
Jeffrey Pelt.
Still haven't seen that one. See, these
he
are
was in
movies
Logan's
that I've heard
Run.
with, I just haven't seen.
Yeah. But Logan's Run is a classic for all you sci-fi fantasy fans. And Clute, but that's very tiny. So I'd say it's probably this and Logan's Run that he's probably most famous for.
I was having a talk with his father, giving him exposition to a great amount. And one thing I want to point out here is Lynch has done a really put a lot of effort into making Caladan very different, like almost diametrically different from Arrakis, by also shooting everything at night on Caladan. And now we get an iconic scene that one of my favorites coming up soon.
Who plays Paul's dad is also like kind of quite an iconic and guy with a very memorable face, and he's a German actor who just before this had done Das Boot, which I think is what he's most famous for. But he's also in The English Patient, and he's done some amazing work. It's a bit like the current Gene, isn't it? That one of the more, not more, but the guy playing the father is like a really famous, very classic actor.
Well, we just got a vision of Sting.
There we go. Yeah, colouring the eyes, very basic in those days. No contact lenses to use.
So I'm at the Lady Mohayim has just arrived.
No man has ever been tested with the box. That's where I am.
Okay, so you're fun.
Francesca Annis, who I think's really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hood is a little ridiculous, though. I love it. Don't get me wrong, but
so when this movie came out, there was a series of ads on British TV for a basically life insurance company called Scottish Widows.
Okay.
And the ads all featured a very pretty woman, like a brunette, like Francesca Annis, who was meant to be a Scottish widow from like medieval times who was prudently saving in like one of these hoods and cloaks. It always used to remind me of this. Like it was just so, if memes had existed at the time, that would have been memed. See, that's some pretty epic hair, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you do that sort of V shape with the rolls, like the kind of, yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a YouTube video on it.
Yeah. Again, very, very medieval.
I love it. I love her dress.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, I'm just now putting together that the V hero woman is Jessica. Okay.
And the shirt Paul is wearing while sleeping is very Princess Bride.
Yes.
It
Very
feels like they're in the
strong
prow
boy.
of a ship, doesn't it? Like, I feel this is like you could be on the inside of Pirates of the Caribbean ship with all the sort of carved, curved wood.
And a pug. They have pugs in space.
I mean, it is worth saying the cast is ridiculous. I mean, the woman playing the Reverend Mother was one of our finest thespians at the time, like Royal Shakespeare Company. Patrick Stewart the same. I mean, Sean Phillips to this day is known as one of our, like, up there with the sort of, Maggie Smiths and Judi Dench's. Pretty cool. Oh, I wish we still lived in the era of like sealing wax and rings that you sort of dipped in with your.
Yeah.
It's just like better, isn't it? It's just better. It's more fun.
Yeah. Kind of want to buy a bit of land in Scotland so that I can have my own signet ring and stuff like that. Just otherwise, why would you have it? You need
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be a laird or something for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Reverend Mother is telling Mum that she's got to put him through the horrific test, and he's looking a little bit nervous. As well he should.
She's using the voice on him.
So the voice in this is basically just someone saying something.
Yeah.
How does it work in the new film if they got lots of sort of like, voiceover and internal voice and...
They don't do internal voice that much, or actually at all, really.
Cool.
So, but the voice it's well enough made. It feels scary enough, so that's good. You need to be afraid of the voice.
So, yeah. And then when they get around internal monologues in this movie. by whispering.
Yeah.
Even though you're mere feet away from the other person.
Stage whisper.
Yeah, it is literally. This is very theatrical in the way they do it. Like everyone suspends their disbelief in that sense. I love it, actually.
It is funny because like all of my, the time this came out, I would have been like 7, 8. And I went through like English education where we watched a lot of like filmed Shakespeare plays, but like, staged where basically the Royal Shakespeare Company would do one or the BBC would do one and someone would basically just film it in the studio. So it wasn't really a film, but it wasn't really a play, somewhere between. And this film feels so similar to that.
Yeah.
But like the best version you could get in terms of costumes but that same kind of style of acting, which is very kind of quite formal and quite epic, like consciously grand.
Yeah. It kind of also reminds me in the production value, kind of close to the old Narnia
yes, yeah,
series on BBC.
I mean, this carpet's hilarious. We were in a restaurant on Saturday, which was founded in 1798 and effectively feels very much like this. Very much of its time. Fear is the mind killer. That is just grim. You feel the flesh crisping. The women in this are just petrifying, aren't they? Like, it's one of the reasons I do like the book overall. Like, I don't know. I feel I probably need to sit with it for a while and reread it. But it has such amazingly fascinating, powerful female characters.
Yeah.
So she's kind of impressed. Young human. I mean, the box itself's kind of like a bit unimpressive, right? It's just a green wooden... It looks like a bit like a plastic crate, like a milk crate.
Yeah. But it did slide open like very impressively.
True.
Like a decorative box. It's a thing. looks like something that my mom might get at like a Value Village or something.
They
Mm.
tried and failed. They tried and died. Oh.
There we go. You see, this is kind of interesting because they're already talking about, the bile of the worms being water of life, whereas in the book you don't find that out until he's kind of living with the Freeman for quite some time, and he goes through that ceremony where he's kind of like transforming it in his mouth. I mean, it's kind of, they're giving a lot of info early.
It is very information heavy.
But in a way, that's kind of the book, isn't it? And I think what I fear is that the new Dune will also not be successful because from the sound of it, it ends so early. It's all been information and set up, and they haven't really got to some of that epic stuff that happens at the back end of the first book. I wonder if it will, lose its mainstream audience.
I think it's easier to survive in this day and age than it would have 20 years ago. I think even with the impressive, effects and everything,
Mm.
I think it wouldn't have survived in mid 90s, maybe something like that. But after Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, where you do have long bits of movie that are not, super interesting, just more setting. I think you'll have enough people who are used to that, accustomed to that.
And I do wonder a little bit, as you say, because of Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and the Marvel films, whether mainstream audiences have been kind of nerdified and have been used to, and a hunger has been created for world building that we didn't have in the 80s when it was more kind of one-off or two-off action movies that were quite self-contained.
I think it's acceptable to be a nerd now.
And well, it's mainstream. Everyone's a nerd, so no one. The real nerds are the people. Like I'm not into Marvel, so I'm the actual true nerd now.
Yeah, you're special
because I'm a minority.
now you're the one who's special, and I'm normal. That's weird.
Exactly. This always reminds me, this Getty Prime with the kind of superstructures of just like if you go to Canary Wharf, which is the sort of the newly built financial district in London, a lot of the skyscrapers just look like that.
For me, it kind of reminds me of the Klingon homeworld.
Okay.
Also, but yeah,
I will ask Philip if he agrees. He's more au fait with that. But I love all that kind of like squeamishly green coloring.
Yeah. And Baron Harkonnen.
And Peter, is it Peter de Vries? How are you pronouncing this?
I don't know. Is it like a French?
Yes.
But it is Brad Dourif who will go on to become Wormtongue.
Yeah.
So that's like epic, fantasy, sci-fi credentials there.
Yeah, he also did a really good episode in X-Files.
Oh, that is some disgusting makeup there on the Baron. Yeah. But again, with the eyebrows. I think this is where some people kind of were lost, because actually without the eyebrows, all of this so far is quite kind of historical and credible, but I don't know. This almost feels, with the guys in white coats, a bit like Terry Gilliam, like where it's like ridiculously OTT, like in Brazil.
Mm-hmm. And then this Mentat has sort of like a First World War sort of clothing on, like over exaggerated.
Bless him.
Coat. There you go.
Sting. There we go. Let's go.
We should also give a shout out for Jack Nance as Nefford for all the Twin Peaks fans out there. Mm-hmm. There's a fish in my coffee. That one there is just for the Twin Peaks.
I've never seen Twin Peaks, so
you need to.
Oh, Leonardo Camino.
For me, it's fairly local. So
yeah, exactly.
but Leonardo Cimino.
Mhm.
Oh, Baron, you are so beautiful.
Sting just looks like so cool, like he's too cool for school, doesn't he?
Yeah.
His
I
attitude,
mean,
he's giving a lot of attitude.
yeah,
What are they actually trying to do to his face with the
very
needles?
much rock star attitude, which makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, because he was. I mean, that's when police were at their peak, right? So, what are they doing to the pustules on his face? Are they trying to drain them or something? Or
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe inject them with some sort of thing that.
lance the boils?
Yeah.
That's so disgusting.
And there we go. I'm at giant flying baby.
Yes. I'm kind of getting, because while I haven't watched Game of Thrones, I've seen screenshots and what have you, and it kind of almost looks like grayscale,
Yeah.
especially on the right cheek there.
So, have you not watched Game of Thrones because you haven't read the books, or just because you read the books and don't want to watch the show, or neither?
Yeah, no, it's partially because I've read the books and have no interest in the adaptation, but also knowing how it ends, it's like it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Kat, I admire your purism. I was like you, I was a holdout for a while, then Nadia and I finally caved. I binged it to the end.
I haven't done it
Giant baby. I think this is how a lot of people think of Trump.
yet. Also with the gay undertones. No, probably
No.
not. Probably not. For one thing we can, but it's okay. It's fine.
But
This
again, like the giant, the kind of like the flying suit. I mean, that was kind of cool at the time, I feel.
yeah, it was. It is. Still.
What's
And
it like in the new film?
oh, they still do flying overweight man, but they do it better.
Cutting back to the woman looking, the guy over here looking at the Baron being drenched in what looks like blood or oil or something.
Yeah.
Like that
Oh,
cut
that's an
was
excellent look from Sting there.
what am I looking at?
This is all very weird.
Yeah.
And like quivering purple tulips and then blood and green walls. I mean, this is so Lynch. It's like some surrealist, fucked up sort of, I don't know. Yeah.
I can say there's a reference to this in the new movie.
Oh, cool. Because it's such an iconic scene. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so now we're back to, I guess, the good guys.
Yeah.
If there are good guys in this. This design of this building almost feels to me more like Art Deco or sort of 1930s fascist rather than medieval.
And that's funny because in this and in the new movie, they do look very much like fascists. These the Atreides, and it's difficult for me to look at them as a good guy while they're still wearing that sort of uniform.
Well, maybe they're not. I mean, ultimately, Paul's about to launch a jihad, right? So maybe he's not the good guy.
Unwittingly, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point, intention ceases to matter when the outcome is that bad.
It was a mistake.
Oh, dear.
It just happened.
I wasn't even meant to be here today. And also the fact that they just seem to have little doggies. I mean, I don't remember that from the original book. It's random.
He's just there. It's almost like David Lynch just wanted a dog.
It's almost like he's sort of like has seen a picture of the Queen running around with corgis and thought, this is what aristocratic people do. They have cute little toy dogs.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's exactly what it is. It's like showing how soft and not ready for Arrakis they are.
Just very not indulgent, wrong word, but yeah, it's a luxurious life. Everything is luxurious and carved and bronzed and
in fur coats.
Especially after that pustule-ridden scene. I mean, these three are so consciously beautiful people, right?
Yeah.
And we can get into the politics of that. I think these days you probably wouldn't be able to have that contrast between, bad equals fat and slobbery.
No.
Although it's Stellan Skarsgård, isn't it, in the new one? So I mean, he's good looking.
And but he's made to be not good looking. So
they've gone for it.
They've almost gone all the way.
I was just rewatching Chernobyl, which remains kind of one of my favorite shows the last couple of years, and he's so good in that.
Oh, he is good in everything, really. So
he's stunning, just stunningly good.
Even in the Marvel movies, he's still one of the best things in it. The first few ones.
Floating embryo Navi.
Yeah,
this has not aged well as effect. But they've gone for it, haven't they? I mean, this at the time.
Very Lynchian. From what I know of David Lynch, which is very little in terms of films, like this is very, very on brand.
I mean, he has more or less weird. I mean, he's really, I would argue, like a sort of art installation guy more than a narrative filmmaker, and kind of accidentally found himself being hugely successful in the mainstream world. And in fairness, even in his more modern stuff, Kat, like you can watch the most recent kind of reboot of Twin Peaks. I mean, he does sometimes do special effects that he's consciously trying to make look like the vintage days of cinema. So he kind of likes you to see the lines, so to say, because he likes the days when it was kind of, in camera effects that looked a bit janky. So he's not averse to that, even now that better technology is available to him.
When that was zoomed out, it reminded me of like
a
generic Windows screensaver for some reason. It just kind of that quality and the effect.
Well, some things say that it's might be sort of detrimental that if movies become so immersive that you don't really get to, reflect on them while you're watching them. I think pulling people out of the immersion actually does something for the the analytics of it, how to analyze it, how to look at it and reflect on what you're actually watching and what's been done with the storytelling.
Yeah, and these things go in and out of fashion, right? Like, I mean, the expressionists would have all said that, they wanted to have cuts and very, watch Citizen Kane, very self-consciously showing you crazy angles and stark contrast between black and white. And you're very conscious you're watching a film that someone has created. And then you go through phases and fashions of film like Dogma coming out of Denmark, where it's all got to look natural and authentic and handheld, and that you don't feel you're seeing the director's hand and you're just seeing something authentic. So these, these things come and go, for sure. This is a very cool bit of scenery. And again, Francesca Annis's hair, I mean, it's like something out of a Disney movie, like a Disney mum or a Disney princess.
Yeah.
Cool ship design. Is that H.R. Geiger? Must be.
I think so. Very close to, at least. The flying cigar.
Yeah. But again, this just feels like Libya, some sort of like, fascist North African dictatorship.
Yeah.
I read today in The Economist that apparently Colonel Gaddafi's son could well come back to power. I was just like, the days of stability. Ironically, our Somalian taxi driver on Saturday was telling us that many of his friends missed the days of Gaddafi because at least you knew where you were and stuff worked.
It's always how it is, isn't it? It's nothing is entirely good.
It's like all the people like after the collapse of Soviet Union and communism who in like East Germany and Russia who were just in that chaos that followed. Perhaps rightly just thought, in the old days at least we were fed, I get that.
Yeah. We got the still suits now, and or I got at least the still suits and still Gar being introduced first.
I'm still okay.
I'm with someone filling a glass of water, and now seeing the operating army with water saving procedures.
That's where I am too, Bina.
It feels like the French Legion, doesn't it? The Foreign Legion with their kind of flat kepi hats.
Yeah.
They almost look like they're going on a camping trip.
Yeah, it really looks like it's Casablanca in like 1943. Or the Franco-Algerian War in the early 60s.
Yeah. That line from Casablanca, I'm only a poor corrupt official, or whatever it is.
Oh, that's
I love that line so much.
Oh my god, the house shield is so janky as a special effect. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Ooh. What's his name? Oh, what's the actor's name? The very old version starts off the new Star Wars, doesn't he?
Everett McGill?
No.
Max von Sydow. Is it Max von Sydow?
That's it.
Yeah. The nice thing is when I go over the screen here, it shows me the names of the actors on screen.
That is very cool, isn't it? That little feature.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about Amazon Prime is they're, in slides.
X-ray.
Yeah, X-ray thing. Yeah, that's good.
So I don't know if anyone who comes from the country of Max von... Are you meant to say Max... Like, I used to say for years Max von Sydow, but apparently you say Max von Sydow or something. Someone can correct us.
I think he might be Swiss.
Swedish? I don't know. Let's have a look. IMDb tells us all. Born in Sweden to a middle-class family.
Oh, he's Swedish. Okay.
Actually, that's a lie. He was the son of Baroness Maria Margareta, a teacher, and Carl Wilhelm von Sydow, an ethnologist and a folklore professor. It's kind of cool. That's kind of like Liet Kynes-ish, isn't it? Ethnologist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a career he had, right? Seventh Seal. Flash Gordon, this film, and then Star Wars at the end. It's not bad.
So his surname is definitely not Swedish.
Apparently, it comes from his German heritage.
Yeah. Oh, are we doing Thopters now?
Are we doing what? Sorry.
Thopters. Oh yeah, that's the.
I think you're a little bit ahead of me and Kat, but that's okay.
Yeah, because we're still talking to Kynes here.
Yeah, Kynes is like, oh, you know how to use a still suit because you're a prodigy in all ways, and therefore totally unrelatable as a protagonist on a hero's journey.
But which is kind of the point.
I know it's in now we're Ornithopters. It's kind of like you can't get around it. It's like many of these heroes, right?
Yeah.
That's why the comedy sidekicks are always getting the biggest laughs at the opera. It's the Papageno effect. You always want to be the comedy sidekick. It's why everyone loves Sam and not Frodo.
I'm to say I'm more a fan of the new Ornithopters.
They're quite lavish. I mean, they seem to have like leather padding on the inside.
Yeah.
Even a desert planet feels like that would be.
But on the actually, I'm getting a Willy Wonka vibe. Like
that is brilliant, Kat. That's such a good observation. It's like it's his great glass elevator that can go in any direction.
World of imagination. Yeah.
Oh, that is a film we should do a commentary or a sing along to. I love that film.
Oh God.
God bless Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Maybe at Christmas we should do that. Do you know why Gene Wilder became a comic?
No.
So I saw him on stage at BFI. He was publicizing his new memoir, and he said that when he was young, like maybe 7, 8, his mum had a bad heart condition, and the doctor came round and pulled him aside and said, your mum must never be stressed out. Make sure she's always laughing. And Gene Wilder took this like really, like he thought that if his mum didn't laugh every day, she was going to die.
Oh,
I know.
That's stressful.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, he's a guy who's battled with all sorts of mental health issues, isn't he? I mean, like, I think, yeah, there's a deep manic sort of like tragedy about all his comedy. I think he's stunning.
Yeah, I think he's really good as well. I think he has a really good.
yeah.
You know, he looks like a sad clown when he rests.
And his eyes, he just has such amazing eyes.
Yeah.
He's one of these people who isn't conventionally good looking, but you could just fall into those eyes. There's such sadness and depth.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know, he's one of those actors who will never be replaced because like in like remakes of the movie, any remakes of the movies he was in, like nobody will be able to fill his roles because
he's a genuine comic
for a reason.
genius.
Yeah.
Genuine comic genius. He reminds me a bit of, I don't know if you guys have heard of Spike Milligan, who was a very British comedian much earlier than Gene Wilder, but again had that same struggled really hard with mental illness. A bit like Peter Sellers, actually. And he, again, I've read books of interviews with him where he said, you know, people always say to me, well, is it worth it? Because he was a manic depressive. So when he was manic and up, he was so funny. But then he would suffer the depression. And he said, I'd rather lose the high and not have the low. Anyway, so for the people listening along at home, we're now in the Ornithopter going above the Dune planet, which looks pretty spectacular, I have to say. Has aged well, the look of Dune.
And now, like, looking out the window here, I'm getting a vague Tatooine vibe.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is although the film came after Star Wars came after the book. And I think it's just clear that George Lucas was very much one of the many people to riff on Dune, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And probably would admit it very freely, I guess. I mean, this looks very Tatooine.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But that's fair. He said that he's riffed on everyone. Like Akira Kurosawa, who is also one of my favorite instrument directors, has like. So, if you copy
and Kurosawa riffs on Shakespeare and Shakespeare riffs off the Spanish tragedians and the classics and the classics riff on. Like, I mean, it's all good. I think it's all fair in Love and War, as long as you acknowledge it and you're part of this great, continuing, evolving story. Ooh, sandworms.
Yeah. It's an early reveal. They don't keep it hidden.
Well, is it only like, how far are we through the film? Nearly an hour through?
50 minutes.
Up 2 hours and 15, I guess. So, yeah, in the books, it feels they come later, right? Pure, unrefined spice. Again, I find the still suits quite funny, because why would you wear black in a desert?
Well, it's sort of suicide to be outside in daylight, anyways. Like,
yeah, so it doesn't really matter. I think this is actually well done. I think the Dune scenes really hold up well.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they did them, whether it was more like genuine filming, but it's, and even the way the earth breaks as the worms coming underneath with the kind of the four pointed corners, I think is so good. It's such good horror. Like, it's genuinely magnificent, you know, when you see the jaws clamp on the outpost. It's pretty cool. God, what a monster, says Sir Patrick Stewart. He's so funny.
And and you listen to John Luc Picard, so
yeah.
flying lights in they're kind of weird, but in like a very imperialistic sort of.
Hello?
Really? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, everyone just like started watching the film.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
it's
It's just because everything else looks very, very old and everything. Even more so now when we go in here. But then the only thing that actually clues you in on this is sci-fi. It's the lights, the floating lights.
So, guys listening at home, we're now back with Mum and son in their new living quarters, which are incredibly ornate. A little bit Rohan, sort of like Aztec geometric Rohan. I don't know. It feels a bit more basic than when we were on their home planet. So maybe a bit more tribal, a bit more basic, but very vibrant colors against all the wood, but still very dark and oppressive. Her hair is epic. This has to be influencing things like Padme and Star Wars, like all the woven and fabric.
You know it.
Although the one thing that's really mid-80s is the heavy eyeshadow and the lips and the use of blusher. I mean, it's very, if you watch like Dynasty or Dallas of this era, that facial makeup, heavy eyes, heavy lips, blusher, like that is how we all looked in the 80s, or adults all looked in the 80s. That is a very unflattering close-up.
And the palace maid gets a credit, and Fremen girl gets a credit.
Cool. There you go. The shout out mapes.
Oh, there you go.
Again, another epic actress, right?
Yeah, she is like, she has a long list of things she's done very well.
I mean, not least Harold and Maude, which is just one of the best films ever made. Let me get up her filmography now.
Yeah, I'm looking it up as well.
God, she was a voice actress in Solo, a Star Wars story. Who knew?
Pocahontas.
Looked like
Yeah. Kindergarten Cop, the classic.
Another movie I haven't seen. There's a lot of movies I haven't seen.
Am I talking shit? She's not in Harold and Maude, so who's the actress in Harold and Maude?
I haven't watched that movie, so sure.
Oh, if you ever want a very dark, hilarious but fucked up film that's just hilariously dark and twisted,
Okay.
Ruth Gordon. Well, there you go. I stand corrected. Both great actresses.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of God of War movies, apparently, like games. She's
Oh, this is the bit when there's the assassiny.
Yeah. This is good.
Floating injection that looks a little bit like a flying robot penis.
Well, I wouldn't want to say it. I'm happy that you did.
You know, I have no sense of decorum or filter.
That's cool. That's cool.
But it does, doesn't it? Like the knob at the end.
Yeah. It is a knob. That's for sure.
But it's very funny.
It's a floating knob.
Insert cheap joke about pricks at the end.
Oh.
But again, that would have been quite impressive at the time, I feel. How David Lynch feels about Dune now.
Good question.
I mean, Carl McLachlan feels very kind of warmly towards it. Like, I think he recognizes it's a cult film, and even though it was a bit all over the place, that he was part of something quite special. which
Well,
is cool. A good attitude to take.
It also seems like Callum MacLachlan is like game for anything, really, up for anything. So
yeah, he sounds like he'd be like quite fun in real life, right? Like, he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Exactly. Like
the Shutout Babes. Such a cool name.
Mm.
It's kind of cool in a way that like she's the first Fremen that we really meet.
Mm.
So to the casual listener, the Shutout makes his warning Paul that there is a betrayer in the House Atreides camp, which is handy. Handy info.
Back out. And then, okay.
This always reminds me of Indiana Jones, you know, when you have like random desert Nazis running randomly. Like carrying bits of equipment because they need to find the Ark of the Covenant.
So stop calling the Atreides Nazis, okay?
No, I am sorely missing the face melting scene.
Exactly. Oh,
We had a hand melting scene.
Close enough, I guess.
When I was a student of economics, there was a German. This is the time when the euro was being created. There was a German politician from Bavaria called Theo Weigel, and I had a picture of him. This is how weird I am. I had a picture of him on my wall because he was so fun. He had these hilarious eyebrows and this picture of him laughing. It was just the funniest thing I'd ever seen, and I was like, very stressed out with doing my final exams, and I would just look at it, and it would just cheer me up. And this guy just reminds me a little bit of Theo Weigel. He's a good guy. Like, no disparagement to him.
It's like what died.
I'll send
to Nestor his face.
I'll send you guys a picture in the chat. He had pretty epic eyebrows, though. I feel eyebrow grooming has definitely come a long way. It's very important. Men, when you reach a certain age, you need to groom your eyebrows. There you go. I put a picture of him in the Dune chat.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
And that's tame. I wish I still had that picture. It was so epic. It was so cheering.
Yeah, I do already have one like very long eyebrow hair that I have to. Yeah, I have to.
Welcome to middle age, Patrick.
Oh yeah, it's beginning.
Yeah. Every time I go to get my hair cut, I get my eyebrows waxed. So.
But to be fair, I've always lived in the Middle Ages, so.
This is why the Middle Ages would in reality have sucked, because personal hygiene and grooming is not what we've come to expect and require as all right.
Especially for us who would not have any access to anything even remotely close to.
Well, exactly, Kat. Like in my head, if I'm back in like the Middle Ages or some kind of like Elizabethan fantasy, I'm an aristo, but in reality, I'd be like a charwoman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the shout out mates. Oh no.
Oh no.
I mean, I have to say, even in the book, you get characters and then suddenly they're dead. I mean, people think George R.R. Martin dispatches the people, but oh no. Ned's been stabbed.
Well, I mean, he does, but
Spoilers. Do you not think this influenced George?
Oh, definitely. That's for sure. I think this book is very much one of the first, one of the books that are like well within everyone's purview, that has intrigue and well, more so in the next books, but it has the idea of this grand play between houses, and anyone who like made science fiction or fantasy after that, not necessarily are copying it, but should definitely have been influenced.
It is amazing to me, though, how much this first part of this film feels so much like Game of Thrones, far more so than when I was reading the books.
Yeah.
Or book, even. And in that tradition, rather than in the sci-fi tradition.
That's what it is for me. It is
the
not...
tooth.
Yeah, the tooth thing.
But I felt this was such a weak motivate. Oh, I just feel this was all a bit dodgy.
Yeah, it's like you don't feel the hatred that the characters do towards the Harkonnens. They just suck.
I feel that he's better as a writer of world building and creating characters than of creating plot that's credible.
Yeah, and motivations.
And his plot, yeah. Like this is Imperial Star Destroyer. I think the Atreides are Nazis.
And the Harkonnen is actually just a liberating army.
I don't know, but I feel David Lynch with his iconography is very much setting them up as, oh no, the doggy.
No,
absurd. The doggy
dog.
I think that's probably where a lot of the fans were like, no.
False alarm.
Doggy plus Sting, we can go no further. The weirding modules.
No, the dog's fine.
Yeah. Well, I hope the dog's fine. This is quite epic.
Yeah.
Old school.
We got the saddle car.
Very cool bit of soundtrack.
Yeah.
Electric guitars going nuts.
Oh my god, they're shooting lasers.
And every time I see full hazmat suits, I can't help but think of the oh god, I can't remember what they're called, but the yellow hazmat suit guys from Monsters Inc.
Yes. Oh, Kat, you're hitting it out the park with the cross references today.
Mm-hmm.
Long live Duke Leto for Rohan.
Keeps actually Dean coming up very soon.
Oh jeez.
Oh god, more pustules.
Yes.
Still, I can't enjoy Jared Harkonnen in this movie as an extremely over-the-top villain. It's always fun.
Oh, Mr. UA. I mean, Mr. UA is basically wearing an SS uniform.
Hmm.
I mean, Baron Harkonnen looks like fat bastard in those awful movies by Austin Powers guy, Mike Myers. It's that crude look.
Beto is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Sting's got very red hair, hasn't he, in this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I once met Sting in a bar in Copenhagen.
Copenhagen, of all places? Sure.
It was the Hotel d'Angleterre or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Okay.
The hotel bar.
Oh, so
and I didn't meet. He was at the bar, and me and my husband were like, "Oh my god, that's Sting!" Like, being really
You
expensive.
you just hung out at one of the most expensive eating places in Copenhagen.
So this is hilarious, Patrick. So for my husband's birthday, because he's a Lego freak, we went to Billund.
Yeah.
Go to Legoland, and I said it was his birthday. So you can pick if you want to be in a pirate room or a treasure room or whatever. And we had a pirate room. They obviously thought the birthday boy was about 7 because there was like balloons everywhere and a birthday duvet on the bed and everything. I was like, oh god, my 40-year-old birthday boy. So we basically had the morning at Legoland in Billund, and then after doing it, so we had our breakfast at Legoland, and then we like took the train into Copenhagen for like this like ridiculously luxurious adult meal. It was like the most sort of like weird contrast.
Yeah.
To evening. In fact, we're coming back to Billund in April to go to the Lego house.
Cool.
Which is new. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, more last shields. I'm nervous about the kind of the Duncan Idaho comedy that's going to be in the new one.
It's not a lot.
Good. Because in a way, I don't want to be brought into some Marvel postmodern like comedy world. I want to be in my epic medieval / futuristic fantasy. Like
Really
I feel Dune is a serious. I mean, it's a serious enterprise, isn't it? So
yeah. I think in total of the whole movie, it's like 30 seconds that is jokes.
I think they just needed that 30 seconds for the trailer, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
To lure people in.
That's quite obvious that it is. That's exactly what the reason
like
is.
Shameless.
My dad cannot stand Marvel, so.
That's fighting worse for a lot of people. So watch out with that.
It's not that I can't stand it. It's just after like the 8th film, I was like,
yeah,
I just haven't got all the time.
Yeah, and then like the snarkiness, like from characters like Doctor Strange, where the whole point of his backstory was to kind of rid him of that attitude. So it's like, okay, whatever.
I just feel it all becomes so samey.
It just depends on for my dad, it's mostly about the fact that every character, has to be comedic in some capacity.
And I think in a way that's just started like almost by happenstance because Robert Downey Jr. was so successful in injecting that kind of dry humor in Iron Man, and so they thought, okay, that's what works.
Yeah.
And then you start hiring directors like Taika Waititi.
Tony Stark, because this billionaire genius who's surrounded by,
Oh, this is disgusting.
Yeah. Separate rant.
Who's the guy with the bow and arrow, the really shit one in Marvel?
Hawkeye?
Yeah, this guy looks like Hawkeye's dad. I always used to feel bad for him. Like I watched like the first of the Avengers movies. I was like, oh, can you imagine being that guy? Like that's sad.
Oh yeah. Well, he spent a good chunk of his screen time, under Loki's control. So
yeah,
in the first one, so it's like okay. So to be fair, in Endgame, his whole vigilante thing that was cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen like the last 15 Marvel films. I'm so like I'm not that I care about spoilers, but I'm just very out of it.
This podcast may contain spoilers from the Marvel movies.
Yeah, but I feel again you can't really spoil them. They've been out for a while now, so it's like I don't think it's possible to spoil the Red Wedding anymore. I feel that's just part of culture.
Fair.
Ooh, Jock. He's posted a picture of a kilt in history chat. Very cool.
Oh yeah, my dad has one of those. Yeah, that's actually what he wore to my parents' wedding.
Oh, cool. Do you have Scottish links?
Yeah.
So is it your clan tartan?
Not entirely sure. Probably. But yeah, actually, I think I think I have Scottish on both sides. I think.
Cool.
Scots came together to make you.
So here we go. The Baron's now
Yeah.
ripping the ducal ring off the dead Duke Atreides. For the
Mhm.
casual listener, just so you know where we are. Have you heard they're reading The Highlander and Henry Cavill's going to be the guy?
No, really?
Yeah.
Well, is he supposed to be in everything now?
Well, he might not be in everything because he might not be Bond.
Okay.
It's unclear to me if he's doing Witcher and Highlander, whether he has time for Bond. But these days, Bond takes about 3 or 4 years between movies, so he probably could do it. But they've got to go for someone. There's no point casting someone like Idris Elba who's 52 because, you need like 10, 15 years out of a Bond. So you've got to go for someone sort of mid to late 30s. So Henry Cavill's in the right kind of bracket. The other person we were talking about was Sam Claflin, who is also in Enola Holmes as Mycroft. Because similarly buff, similarly English, but cheaper. And then the other person who gets mentioned is Rob Stark.
Oh.
Richard Madden.
Yeah. I'm actually a little bit sad it's just not the Black British actress who is in the current Bond. I think that would have been quite cool. Oh, Jack Mounts is back. That sounds a bit Young Frankenstein, doesn't it? It's alive!
Yeah.
Oh, this is a cool shot. June at night. In a sense, I think Timothée Chalamet is kind of like a more interesting casting than because he looks younger. He probably isn't that much younger than Carl MacLachlan here, or was at the time, but he looks more adolescent.
Yeah,
which is probably right, isn't it, for this?
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping that he I don't know enough about Timothée, but if he sort of bulks up for the next movie or something like that, because he is a bit scrawny.
But that's his look. I'm not sure he can bulk up. I think that's very much his style. But yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it's very much like the Tom Holland effect, where he's not much older than I am. He's about a year and a half older, or something like that. Because he's the same age as my boyfriend's sister, so older sister. So
yeah.
So I imagine it's kind of like that effect where he can really pull off playing like a teenager, without it being like completely ridiculous, like it's totally believable.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just saying that. Well, personally, I put on some weight when I got on the second half of the 20s, and if you had like a personal trainer, maybe he could become look a bit more mature, because right now he does look like a teenager, a very good looking teenager, but he's still very young looking.
We should probably talk for a second about how awesome it is that they have Jose Ferre as the Emperor. I mean, that's pretty badass casting.
Yeah. Definitely.
Bring up his filmography now.
The
Dune was one of his final films.
Yeah.
But,
Moulin Rouge, Cyrano.
Cyrano is probably his most famous, right? Or his most awarded, I would say.
Yeah, the Caine Mutiny. Matlock?
Also, father of Miguel Ferrer, who stars memorably in Twin Peaks. He also played, he was in Lawrence of Arabia. He played the Turkish bey who rapes Lawrence of Arabia, which is probably not casting you could do now, right? Having a Puerto Rican guy play a Turkish guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Actually, isn't he in the Joan of Arc as the Dauphin? The Ingmar Bergman Joan of Arc. I've got a
Oh,
feeling.
that one. Oh, yeah, okay.
No, the Victor Fleming, the 1948 one with Ingrid Bergman as Joan.
It looks... I haven't seen that one, so...
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I should. I think he's in that.
Yeah, yeah, he is. It's his very first credit on IMDb, so...
Yeah, but he is... Mama, why have you forsaken me?
Yeah.
You're only right now, kid.
Oh, yeah.
This is very Jon Snow and Robb Stark.
Yeah, or Jesus.
Yeah.
It's kind of more the point.
in a heavily religious book.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
a religious themed book.
Yeah.
So you'll have to let us know where the current film ends.
It's very close to here.
Gosh. And it's long as well, isn't it? I mean...
Yeah.
You know, the tops of this, all kinds. But the tops of the still suits remind me of my rain jacket, just because of the puff. It's like this black. It looks exactly like that. Exactly like that, almost. Which is a fairly odd connection, but I can't help but think of that.
And that is the beauty of Vok. Nothing is too odd for us to mention. Odd and inappropriate is very much where we live.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
My home there.
I love how they've been through this horrible escape, and yet Paul and his mum have perfect hair. Nicely blow dried, a lot of
movie,
mousse.
right? That's just movie.
Looking stunning.
Yeah, even when she has messed up hair, it still looks like something you would use several hours to make.
Exactly. There's a lot of mousse going on there for the mid-80s. I'm betting that front bit with the fringe doesn't really move much.
No. you see Paul's hair sort of moving in the air, but hers is completely still.
Just a lot of cheekbones and styling mousse.
Yep.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
Here we go. We're getting to the classic iconic line. Walk without rhythm so you don't set the worm. Don't attract the worm. Which always makes me think of that Christopher Walken dance routine to the Fatboy Slim song.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Weapon of choice.
Weapon of choice, yeah.
And we won't attract the worm.
I don't like that.
It almost feels like, actually, that line feels very Christopher Walken.
Yeah. So what would be brilliant here is if we just broke into like a Christopher Walken, like dance across the dunes.
Yeah.
It's very atmospheric, though. I love the way this is done.
God.
This is the best of
I don't like going to the beach because I can't stand getting sand in my shoes. Or I can't stand getting anything in my shoes for that matter.
So this is the proper full shot of the worm from mouth POV. That's what, an hour and 15 minutes in or whatever. So they have withheld that a little bit.
But it's okay. So it looked like there was a small worm before. This one is definitely larger.
Big Daddy worm.
Yeah.
When it was, the the reveal though looked like almost like a flower blooming, which, huh?
And in a way, that's kind of like a nice metaphor because the worms, especially early in the book, you just think they're so destructive and they're killing people and destroying things. But actually, they're the source of life. They're the source of spice. In a way, they are this beautiful organic thing, right? They're kind of like, like someone was saying that sharks were maligned by Jaws and that we should learn to love sharks. Like we should learn to love worms.
Definitely. Next time I see one, I'll pat it.
Sure. Yeah.
We're re-landscaping our back garden and it's basically just been a holocaust for worms and all living things. Nothing
Also, the
has
thing about
survived.
sharks is the reason why they're such a menace is because of poor eyesight. So they don't intentionally go biting on legs and whatnot.
Yeah. See, and it's all about intention, isn't it, Patrick? When it comes to fascists and worms. Didn't mean to start a jihad. Didn't mean to. Trying my best not to.
Yeah.
The sharks can't help it.
I just walked and I stumbled and I like made a jihad.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Imagine going home, like walking into your room and saying, "Well, I started a jihad today, and
Good news is I have a job.
yeah, good news is I have a job. Bad news, well, we'll see."
So funny.
Like, but how do you accidentally do that? Did you trip and fall?
Well, that's basically Life of Brian, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, she doesn't like Cappy.
No.
Someone started another thumper, so they're all right to the listener. But they've had their first confrontation with a worm.
It was terrifying for what it was.
Yeah, that reveal was very villain-esque.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because, having read the book, Fremen are not, I mean, they're potentially threatening, but,
Their nature.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the dirty still suits kind of looks like a skeletal body. And then their extremely blue eyes makes them sort of like White Walkers.
Yeah.
Wait, so this is the deal.
Yeah.
Is it weird that they all speak the same language?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless they know that he's an owl. They just use the common tongue, sort of say, to communicate with them specifically.
What happened to the actress who plays Chani? Because she was huge for a while, wasn't she? I mean, she was in Blade Runner and then this, which are like two of the most like cult films. And Blade Runner was really successful, I think, on release. Or not making that up. Sean Young.
Yeah, Sean Young. That's it.
But then she sort of faded, I think.
Oh, Ace Ventura.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
I mean, she's acted consistently. I'm looking at her IMDb, but like nothing I've really heard of. Like the last film she made that I heard of was kind of Bone Tomahawk in 2015, but that's a very cult film.
But she is a very iconic role in Ace Ventura. She's Einhorn. So oof.
Like basically in the whole of the 2000s, she hasn't done a single film that I think of as being good. And
Okay, yeah.
Good.
so basically, let's go through the 90s now.
And now, okay, I just have to. This is where the movie ends, like right before this.
Oh, okay.
So right before they get into the siege, they the movie ends.
Oh yeah, I forgot she had a small part in Wall Street. So basically, after Dune and Blade Runner, she hasn't done anything remotely famous. But she's worked consistently. I do wonder a little bit, maybe she's one of those girls who will find out later some director or producer tried to sleep with her and she wouldn't, and then never got cast in anything. A bit like Mira Sorvino. Like sometimes in Hollywood, when you're like, that person was so famous and, you know, so good, and then suddenly they disappeared, and there's always some like nefarious reason behind it.
Yep. Every time I'm looking at the breathing apparatus for the still suits, you know, the piece that goes under the nose there,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, I'm just waiting for it to start moving, like on its own. It's weird, but I'm like, I have expected to start moving on its own, like just crawling across the face.
Weird.
So what is the deal with why does the Baron need to be so maniacal? That's the
And
one
it's
thing.
fun.
Yeah. And then Raban enters with a cow tongue.
So Everett McGill, also unsurprisingly in Twin Peaks, in quite an iconic role. If you do go on, to watch, yeah,
movie apparently.
David Lynch, kind of a bit like Christopher Nolan, has his group of actors that he uses again and again.
Yeah.
And people who maybe trust him with his slightly wacky way of working.
Yeah.
Raban. This bit's so nutty. They're all completely fucking
Everything
nuts.
okay, Baron?
The Nar Baron.
And it kind of reminds me of the first season of the first book of Blackadder, in the way they go over the top in every sort of scene.
Mad adder.
Yeah.
Look at her. Yeah, I mean, people forget actually the first season of Blackadder was really terrible.
It was, but in a good way.
But it's often cited.
Way.
It's often cited as an example of the UK versus the US commissioning. Like in the US, it would never have been commissioned for a second season.
No.
But in the UK, because of like quite generous public funding, oh, here we go, Sting in his little diaper.
Yep.
This is very. It reminds me a little bit, if you watch I, Claudius of Caligula. There's a certain manic, like sort of like hyper erotic weirdness.
And it pairs well with a Baron Harkonnen being sort of also.
So, yeah, just so.
Yeah, this is all a bit like, I fancy this young, oiled up, naked man in front of me.
Yeah, my own nephew.
Yeah, it's all a bit weird and incestuous.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of moments in the book too.
Yeah.
Really, in the book, I didn't pick up on it, but
I got the vibe in a few places.
Mind you, I'm the woman who read Game of Thrones and didn't realise Renly was gay. So, Jesus, even with the rainbow flag.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, don't feel bad about that. I didn't pick up on it either. It wasn't until I got into looking at it on the internet that
yeah, exactly.
so it's like okay.
Oh, here we
You know,
go.
like with the Rainbow Guard, I always picked up on that as like the 7. That makes sense.
Yeah. Now the water of life.
Yeah, so little Alia's going to have a very weird.
Oh yeah.
I very much feel that David Lynch is the right director to show weird shit happening to a fetus.
Yeah.
I mean, is there really any other director?
Yeah, this is very much in his wheelhouse.
Definitely. I mean, if you watched Twilight, that
Oh God.
that is also sort of
Oh, that's true. The kind of projection into the future.
yeah, and weird hyper mature baby.
Speaking of which, we're going to see the movie Spencer on Thursday, which has Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana. Very much looking forward to that.
Okay.
It seems like fairly odd casting to me. I don't know why.
I think she has a kind of brittle vulnerability to her that I think Pablo Larraín, the director, will bring out, judging by the trailer. I mean, the whole thing could be horrible, right? But then again, I watched Princess Diana the musical on Netflix yesterday, and I quite enjoyed it. I know it's ridiculous, but if you took it at its level,
Yeah.
such a
Like
boss
Baron
move, isn't it?
Harkonnen in this movie. You
Float
have to
on
take it
stars.
at its own level, and it's just the best thing.
Got the kitten now.
I really want a flying suit.
Yeah.
This
Who
is
doesn't?
horrible. This is so awful.
And it's so unnecessary, but it's fine. It's fine.
And this isn't anything in the book, right? This
No.
Oh no, the cat!
It's so unnecessary.
I think basically
Why?
David Lynch is trying to say, look, these people are the good guys. They're nice to dogs. Oh, look, these people are the bad guys. The pustules on the face are not enough. Let's have them torture
Yeah,
a cat.
exactly. I think he realized halfway in through production that, oh my God, my main guys are wearing Nazi suits. I need to do something extra.
What's worse than Nazi suits? Torturing a cat.
And splicing it with a rat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the martial arts part. He doesn't have the weirding way or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he didn't want to see, quote, it was what was it? He didn't want to see martial arts on dunes or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, it's worth saying that
Apparently,
the guy who
allegedly.
plays Feyd-Rautha is also an incredibly famous British character actor called Freddie Jones, who'd been in he was in Krull for the fantasy fans like that, another movie I love. But in lots of, he was Pompey in the big Antony and Cleopatra.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies, the Count of Monte Cristo. He was also in that one. Not a big role there, but
he was also in a number of quite beloved British soap operas. So there's Emmerdale Farm. He was on that, I think, for about 15 years. And I think he was on Casualty as well. But yeah, Emmerdale Farm is what
I mean, that 15 years on a soap opera that I think I don't watch soap operas, so I don't know, but I think that's a pretty common thing for soap operas.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, here we go. Paul's trying to be like a leader now. Really understood why they had to destroy all the spice production, but anyway.
yeah. I just like it when you say the one who can destroy a thing controls a thing. Can you use another word than thing? Makes it
But the thing.
the thing you can destroy, you control, then the thing.
I mean, you haven't beaten the Baron Harkonnen yet, and then you want the Padshah Emperor to turn his eyes to you. Pretty ballsy.
But again, I think that's just a symptom of adaptation, condensing.
This is totally not how I imagined like a Dune cave to look like.
Oh.
It's too hard, too fabricated.
It kind of looks like a water reservoir.
Yeah, I just feel like it should look more organic.
Yeah.
This is the one bit of production design I really don't like.
Yeah.
And I suspect, I guess the film doesn't go that far, but it'll look more organic there.
Yeah, well, there is a station, eco station.
Oh, they skip completely over Jamis.
So do we not get the death of Jamis in this?
No.
But that's such a cool scene.
Yeah.
Maybe it was shot and cut because
Yeah.
this was originally like about 10 years long, wasn't it? And then various people had to chop it up to make a movie out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, no wonder the fans were pissed off. I mean, that's quite an iconic moment. So if that doesn't make the film.
Yeah. Yet they have Alaya. So,
Yeah, so win some, lose some.
Yeah. But then you don't get Hurrah, I'm horribly mispronouncing that name, but James' wife.
Yeah.
Because there's just 2 kids there.
Yeah.
Weird.
No, it's a jihad. It's fine.
But they're like the only 2 kids there.
No. Cringe. The Muad'Dib. My name is a killing word.
Desert mouse.
Usul.
Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. The reaction there was very much like, huh. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. Just there. The kids they're just there. They're not doing anything. They're just standing there.
But this is an iconic look, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think this really reminds me of Lawrence of Arabia. There's a scene where he has to go back into the desert to rescue a boy who's been left behind. And no one really knows if he's going to come back or not and make it. And it's a bit like this with everyone looking expectant and someone going off to do what they think will basically kill them. It's like more countries aren't turning up to COP26.
Yeah, see, every time I see the nose piece, I just expect it to start moving, to gain sentience. I don't know why, but I'm looking at it. It's what my eyes are drawn to the most, and I'm like,
Well, it does look like a little hand grabbing hold to the. Why would the worm turn that way around if you start hurting it? It would make more sense for it to turn into the sand, so that it could crush whatever it's hurting it. But yeah, I mean, don't look. That's yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
climbing up the side like it's a mountain, just clinging. You know, oh, there we go. Okay. I was like, he's just hanging on to the side. That's not what, especially because I know the scene later
Mm-hmm.
is, I mean, that's the scene that I'm talking about has been beaten to death. So it's like so iconic.
Oh.
It's the problem for
Right.
films like this, isn't it? It's a struggle for them to appear fresh when you've seen so much of them in other things.
Uh-huh.
But the music, the guitar just came in.
Random bits of lightning. Huh. Here we go. Okay, this is where a rock band was needed.
Yeah.
I'm entirely convinced the reason why Toto was hired to do the music was specifically for
This
the room
specific
lighting.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold the Line is literally about this.
Mm-hmm. Well, even if it's not, it is now.
Yeah.
Did Toto do any other scores, or was this their only film they did? Hello?
Hey.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't even know they did the music to this, so. Ah! That guy was just blasted up into the air. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that exposition. Okay.
So far, what's been the most surprising?
Hmm. Well, the complete exclusion of Jamis, for one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. The black suit guys, who I assume are the fanatic, the soldier fanatics
Mm-hmm.
in full on still suit. Those guys, very stormtrooper-esque.
Yeah, very much so. It also strikes me, because now I've read the book, that you don't get any of the kind of off-Dune stuff. Like, there's none of the Count Fenring stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or not yet, anyway.
Yeah. Everything is very centered around Arrakis.
Which
is fair enough. I mean, there's enough for the viewer to get their head around anyway.
It's called Dune.
How
It
much
is called Dune.
do you get any like Count Fenring or anything in the new film?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. It's a shame, because I think him and his wife are actually quite interesting. The dynamic between them, I found really interesting.
Oh, for sure.
No. Okay. Yes.
Weird little girl.
Young pup. Okay. Oh, okay.
It's kind of weird, because they're trying to have like this big action film end, but it just sort of isn't, kind of.
Yeah.
Or it feels weird after everything that's come before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like suddenly you're now leading a whole. I mean, that's in a way why you have to have the James bit, because you have to believe that he's a skilled fighter, and a skilled fighter who would impress the Freemen to be able to lead them. You know? You do need that as a bridging story. I think it's a shame they lost it. I mean, it's long enough anyway. They could easily have had it still. I guess in the new film, you haven't realised Gurney's still alive then. They've not been reunited.
No.
Cool.
Oh, no. Yeah. They wouldn't have.
Mm.
Okay. And after that scene, wow.
Yeah.
That transition, though.
I love how the Padshah Emperor basically just sits in a room that's gold.
Yeah. And I like how he said, this is genocide, and then literally just defined genocide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In a sense, I feel the Emperor is a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah,
Like-
and the idea of him saying that he needs 50 legions of Sardaukar doesn't really have enough of heft for you to understand that that's pretty fucking impressive to have mobilized 50 legions of them.
And also because you're not really
Yeah.
aware of why that they are these very elite, scary, specifically trained force, right? For all we know, they're just more troops in the context of the film. It's not really explained that.
No,
Yeah.
that they're basically what they are fanatics in the same way that the Fremen will be fanatics for
Yeah,
the
exactly.
for Paul.
Yeah, but like to be fair, I think the Emperor is maybe a touch underwhelming in the book too. A touch.
But there's a lot less of him. So, and also because in my imagination, I don't know, it just feels like he's wearing kind of like the same military uniform, more or less. I mean, it doesn't feel that different.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul's eyes are starting to go blue. Frolicking in the sand.
Well, I mean, it's a desert planet, so they don't have flower fields.
Frolicking with his lover and 50 random guys.
Oh my god. But then maybe it's a good thing that it's a desert planet. Then we make it Naboo.
Yeah,
Naboo.
exactly. Better on Tatooine.
Uh-huh.
So apparently the music is also they have employed the Vienna Symphony Orchestra for
Wow,
that's
makes
cool.
sense. Luscious strings, what they're famous for.
Yeah, and the Vienna Volksoper Choir. So like the best of the best, really, actually.
I mean, that was the problem with the film, right? The budget was nuts.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it in the cast, and you can see it in the quality of the costumes, and yeah.
And you know the effects for the time.
So the budget was $40 million in 1984.
Oh shit.
The opening weekend, it took 6 million, and the worldwide gross was 31 million.
Oh.
So it lost a cool 10 mil, which in modern money would be more. So apparently the sound design got nominated for an Oscar. Interesting. Oh, here we go.
What are you seeing right now? What are you seeing right now?
Did you? Oh. Okay, Paul is crying blood, or his eyes are bleeding, or something. Okay, and bald woman.
Okay, so there are multiple versions of this, so it'll be interesting to see if we do end at the same time. Apparently, there's a 137-minute cut, which I think is the one I'm watching. There's a 190-minute United States special edition and a 177-minute extended cut.
Well, the one I have here was over 2 hours, so
If it's 2 hours 15, we're watching the same one.
Mine is
Yeah.
a bit shorter, it seems.
Okay.
okay. I don't know how long mine is.
We'll end when we end.
Yeah.
I've delayed my my footage a few times.
Are you at the water of life bit, Patrick?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's past it now.
Yeah. So, well, here I've got his blood coming out of the nose and seeing galaxies and stars, and
Yeah.
there is a place
And
terrifying to us
hand.
women.
Yeah, and then the hand, and now back to Paul.
Yeah.
And when he
And the two sandworms just sitting there like,
yeah. So
what are we supposed to be doing?
So when you get to the Jesus reference again, then
Shout out.
yeah.
Apparently, it took 200 workers 2 months to hand clear 3 square miles of Mexican desert for location shooting. That I guess is how you spend $40 million in 1984.
Yeah.
Because I bet those Mexican workers weren't paid much either.
Yeah. Okay.
Apparently, the tendons visible when Paul hooks the worm were made from condoms.
Okay.
Okay, that's great.
We're just doing fun
But then-
facts now.
Yep,
Oh, well, until we're all synced up.
Yeah.
Lighten the mood.
Yeah.
Some scenes were filmed in the same location and at the same time as scenes from Conan the Destroyer. Oh, that makes me so happy.
One who walked directly from one set.
Oh
to
my
another.
god, wait.
They're all
Oh, yeah,
chanting Muad Dib now. Are you there, Arrakis, Dune?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I need to get the.
Okay, the first time we did that. I guess because they didn't want to translate it, they just said "long the fighters."
Yeah.
That makes sense. It makes sense, but same time, I do wish, and for pronunciation's sake too.
Apparently, Glenn Close was first offered the role of Jessica and turned it down.
Well, okay then.
Well, that was bad for her. Maybe not.
Well, I think she's done all right, in fairness.
Yeah, I think maybe.
And actually, probably better than Francesca Annis, right? So...
Maybe.
Apparently, David Lynch turned down the chance to direct Return of the Jedi to direct this.
Huh.
That is nuts.
Well, that makes me wonder what Endor would have been like.
I mean, it shows you just how in demand he was, which is nuts for an art house director.
Yeah.
But I guess you have a multi-Oscar winning movie in Elephant Man and The World's Your Oyster.
Mm-hmm. Oh. That line.
At the time of this movie, the normal budget was $5 million. And they turned down Jodorowsky's Dune, which would have been epic because it was going to cost 15. And in the end, they spent 40. That just tells you how out of control this got.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the band's back together, right?
Yeah.
You've got everyone now united. For the person listening at home, you've got this quote unquote good guys / fascists. Jack Nicholson turned down the role of Gurney Halleck.
Oh, that would have been great. But then again, we would have missed out on Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, no. I'm happy that Patrick Stewart got it.
Mm-hmm.
He is supposed to be a bit over the top.
Oh.
Apparently, Christopher Reeve auditioned for Paul.
Huh.
Superman.
Yeah.
Way too buff, I think, for this one. Oh, the death of Gabon.
Oh God, that voice.
What, the child?
Elia.
Yeah. I am a messenger of Mohathi.
And there we go, Demon Child. Jeez.
Apparently, Dune got shit because obviously it was filmed at the time of the AIDS crisis being very much at its height. And there was criticism that, you know, a sort of potentially gay antagonist had superating sores on his face, like a caricature of an AIDS victim. That's awful.
Yeah.
I feel that's valid. I mean, yeah. To say they've done the Alia character quite well, because I had real trouble visualizing her when I was reading it, and this actually really works weirdly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's unsettling,
but it's credible.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, it's a very young Alicia Witt, who went on to be is a good actress in lots of stuff. Rob Lowe turned down the role of Paul Atreides.
Oh.
Okay.
And Helena Bonham Carter was originally cast as Princess Irulan, but scheduling conflicts with the Room of the View forced her to leave. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I guess the Sandworms have just been really good at set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we doing here? Okay. Oh, there we go.
I like that one of the generals has a steel-tipped nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. I almost kind of want to know the backstory of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we have a famous scientist called Tycho Brahe, or Tycho Brahe, and he also lost the tip of his nose in a duel. So that's the first thing I think about when I.
I like how the sandworms just land and open their mouths like they're expecting people to walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me. In Denmark, we have this giant mine where bats live, like 16 to 18,000 bats, and there's a night owl that lives in the area, and it just flies into the little opening into the mine and just sits there and opens its mouth, and then when the bats fly in from at morning, the owl just eats them, like it swallows them.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay, so I just found a website where you can put in a number and it gives you the number in today's money. And apparently the budget today would be $120 million, which is actually nothing. Now that we have all the Marvel films that cost, like 150, 200 with marketing and...
Yeah. Yeah, okay. But it's still a...
It's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay. Going to the sonar screen of the cheers there, very video game-esque.
Mm.
Oh, jeez. Okay, having the subtitles on, I love it when like nobody's talking, but it just says like exclaims.
But
Okay,
isn't it
so-
like
Oh,
isn't
sorry.
it like that the most expensive movie ever made if you adjust for inflation and stuff like that is like Casablanca or something like that? Because it's like that
I
old.
feel like I heard that. I don't know.
Okay, well. Oh no, it's most grossing movie. It's Casablanca.
Okay, yeah. Don't shoot at it. You'll just make it angry.
Yeah.
Stop shooting at it. Oh,
Not very fanatic Sadaka running away.
yeah. But to be fair, I guess the sandworms, what can they do?
Yeah, well.
Like, there's that scene in the book where the Shadakar are confronted with the sandworms and they don't do much of anything. They do run, and there's the one guy who just is so awestruck, just stands there and waits for his fate.
The
Oh.
Gom Jabbar.
That was very Looney Tunes just then.
Yeah.
God, that little girl, so weird.
Right now.
She's also in Twin Peaks, actually, when she grows up as a teenager. I just really want to watch Twin Peaks now. But I can't because the whole of Seinfeld's just come on Netflix.
And that's more important than Twin Peaks?
Well, I've seen Twin Peaks a lot more.
Okay, maybe. Oh, the pug is alive.
Yay! That cat isn't though.
No. Somehow, like a long time later, the pug is alive.
Yeah. Again, it may be a different pug for all we know, but it looks the same to us, but who knows? But knowing that it's survived everything that's gone on, it's like, okay, David Lynch clearly just wanted a dog.
Mm. You know what's weird?
Somebody did.
I've just realised in this whole movie, like the whole George R.R. Martin twist of Paul, who Paul's granddad is not revealed.
No, yeah. Yeah,
which seems like a big plot point not to bother having.
But then again, it would make the whole spittle in the face really weird.
True.
Like more weird than it is. I mean, it would make the movie even more interesting. It would, but
she just fell back into that soldier there, and he's like, I guess I'll catch you. And
That's not a proper knife. It's a letter opener.
Huh. Yeah, I guess it was with knives. It's a weird thing to see. Did they miss Sting on the... Oh, wait. Okay, no. I think I'm conflating the diaper and the worms. Okay, never mind.
Oh my god. This always reminds me of oh, what's the thing in Game of Thrones?
Viper.
Yeah, the mountain and the wiper. I mean, Sting basically has about like 3 lines in the whole film, right?
Yeah. But it's fun.
Yeah, totally.
We'll kill him.
And plus the diaper.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he was meant to be buck naked, and Sting actually agreed to do it naked, and then the studio wimped out and said so they had to like come up with that diaper.
Yeah.
Last minute. I always think that Sting's doing a little bit of Malcolm McDowell in Clockwork Orange with his kind of like manic, mischievous energy.
Yeah. Oh. And that was the end of Sting.
Yeah.
Sad.
Oh.
There you go. Wow, I didn't realise that Frank Herbert was a cousin of Senator McCarthy.
I didn't know that either. Huh.
He did not take kindly to his cousin's demagoguery of screenwriters. This is why charismatic or messianic leaders, even Paul turned out to be corrupt in his writings.
That's great.
That's so funny. Oh, there we go. Getting a funky cloak. That's quite the outfit, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the weird ass kid sister sidekick.
Now I kind of want to see a spin-off, just the adventures of Elia and Paul. That would be great. Well, so much for the desert planet.
There you go.
So the Messiah. Okay.
Yep.
But again, so much for the desert planet.
Yeah.
In alphabetical order. Okay.
I think this is a bit shit because, you know, the whole point of Liet Kynes is that it's going to take centuries. And what I always thought was very noble about the Fremen was that they were doing these things even though they weren't going to see it in their lifetimes or their children or children's lifetimes, but it was still a good thing that they were going to try and do.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like the quick, easy Deus Ex Machina. Cool.
Deus is hard rock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So I do enjoy how the actors in the credits are listed in alphabetical order.
I think it's, and I also think they've got the little like the visual of who they are, because I think there's an acknowledgement that the audience probably still don't know who the frack anyone is.
Yeah. Oh, that was Charney. Okay.
Exactly.
Exactly. So what did you think, Kat? Your first ever watch?
It was okay. Like as much as I'm a book purist, like I can appreciate I mean, Patrick Stewart is obviously gold, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna. But like Jamis, the exclusion of Jamis is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. If you get hold of an extended cut, all of that stuff and a lot of like Stilgar kind of training Paul up, and that does exist. So you might be able to find it even on YouTube or on extras or something. But yeah, I agree. I find that really weird, because then otherwise it's just too abrupt, him, suddenly emerging as a leader.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest things in the book. I found it really moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So also, I mean, the things that are fantastic in this movie is the soundtrack is very 80s in a very good way, I think.
Completely agree.
And the clothing, all the costumes and the set pieces are pretty good all around. Some of the CGI is, how it is, but I mean, it's not like it's
But
a
it's
lot
no
of the
worse than other movies of its time. I think,
yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's the production value of all the all the different pieces are very good, and the actors are pretty good as well. It's just the way it was cut, maybe a lot of it, and a few choices like in the inner monologues and stuff like that. The exposition has been done in a bit weird way that it definitely doesn't translate well in the 2020s.
How do you feel about the choice? Like, the other thing that some of the fans, I guess, would pick up on is the decision not to have the weirding way, but to turn it into like a technological thing that Paul's going to give him.
Yeah.
Because David Lynch said he didn't want it to look like Kung Fu in the desert.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to quote earlier.
Yeah. So do you think that? I mean, I didn't mind it too much, but yeah.
So okay. Each their own, but
Yeah. I think what I think it's weird, and I think when it actually breaks for me, it's not like the first few times. I think using a voice as sort of like a resonating thing that could break other things is fine in the conception of itself. The thing that breaks it for me is the more deep being a killing word. That is sort of what takes me out of that specific aspect of it. Like, oh my god, this just blew up on itself, and then afterwards he can just make his voice be a weapon itself. Other than okay, well, it's the whole thing, at least with the Muad'Dib being a killing word in a wording device, is weird.
Yeah, and RD being a killing word at all for me is just like why. The reason why he was given that name is because the well-respected sand mouse, kangaroo mouse. Survivor. It was he earned it because of his ability to survive. Right? Like
yeah. like this modest thing that's incredibly resilient. Because the whole
Yeah.
point of the book, I mean, like this movie kind of takes place as if everything just one thing happens and another and another and another, and then it's the end. Whereas in the book, there are, passages of time. And, there's one like cool bit in the book where they're like, the emperor and people had heard of this kind of like folkloric sort of mythic religious, but no one thinks much of it. Like the whole point that Muad'Dib is, it's like modest, isn't it? Like they underestimate completely the force that he's going to be. Yeah, so I don't know. But
yeah.
I don't think it's a bad film, and I think it is a hard book to put on screen. We'll see what this new one's like, but I kind of feel it's a noble effort, and it's really interesting, and it's kind of like it's a fascinating failure, if indeed it is a failure, and yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Yeah.
It's very formative in my.
This one time, it's just terrible as an adaptation, which is unfortunate.
It was, but it was formative in my young years, and I don't think I would have picked up the book if I hadn't watched the movie and loved the whole gothiness / it was like it felt so fresh for me in comparison to all the other things I've watched.
Yeah.
So
and it was evidently formative for so many filmmakers and screenwriters and writers, right? So we have to be thankful to it. A bit like Jodorowsky, he didn't make his crazy film, but he gave us so much that became so much else. So,
So it's. I do find it amusing that they turned down Jodorowsky because of how expensive it was, and then the budget of this one just blew up in everybody's face.
Well, exactly, but I mean, it's not like Jodo would have stuck to 15.
Oh,
and
no.
And his original script, I think, was for a film that was. I mean, I think the first cut of this was 4 hours, and I think his original script would have been like 15 hours. He was basically making an expensive HBO miniseries, like a first season of Game of Thrones. And I think the problem for people like Lynch and Jodo is they would have been perfect in the current environment, where Netflix just gives you 25 million per episode and off you go, and you can have as many episodes as you need.
Yeah.
The Crown today costs 25 million an episode. Well, Jodo would have done an amazing bloody Dune with that.
Yeah. Although some of these other movies are a bit weird, to say the least.
Totally nuts, right? I mean, The Holy Mountain, I think, is hilarious. I mean, but I just love him because I think he's sort of, I don't know, he's a true original.
Yeah, definitely. I do enjoy weird, so it's fine.
Exactly. Oh, this has been fun. I'm glad you guys could join me and were tolerant of me pushing it back a week. I think this nicely warms me up for the new Dune on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I don't keep up with movies, so I have no idea when it's coming out in the States, but
I think same as here, so a couple of weeks' time. We should all try and chat about it when the new one's out. We've all seen it. It'd be really good.
I can say as much that even though Toto is amazing in this, and anyone who says differently can come at me. But no, Hans Zimmer really like blows it away. Like no competition.
I mean, Hans Zimmer's just in a category, isn't he, of his own?
Yeah, but even so, he brings it to a whole new level.
Wow.
The sound design and the music in it is like probably one of the best parts of the whole movie in itself. So look forward to it. I will say as much.
Well, I'm glad you forewarned me about where it stops, because I think I would have been disappointed otherwise. So I'm really glad my expectations have been narratively have been pared back. But everyone I've spoken to who's seen it, it's like it's just visually, sound design, it's breathtaking. And it ends where it ends. Don't worry about it. It's all build up, but that's okay. We'll get the next one. But
to be fair, the first third of the book does kind of end abruptly. So somewhat abruptly,
And in this movie, he sort of, or they sort of decided that this is going to be the end because, well, there's an ocean now, and now it's no longer a desert planet. So no June 2. But in Villeneuve's movie, it's very much made as you want to watch part 2 of this movie.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually semi-surprised they didn't film it together like Lord of the Rings, like just do them and then release them separately.
it wasn't approved actually. He couldn't get approved from Warner Brothers to actually make these the sequel as well. So
Huh. So it really does depend on all us fanboys going out and watching it and making it make some money.
exactly. So do it.
Do it, people, do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting because Warner Brothers, really, they're the only kind of, well, not independent, right? Because they're part of the whole HBO thing, but they do finance slates of interesting movies still.
Yeah.
You know, they've got the long relationship with Chris Nolan. They are the people who are willing to finance properties like this. So I hope it really works for them. I hope they're rewarded for being willing to do that.
Well, I watched it twice. I don't do that very often. I think the last one I did that one was I think that was maybe no, I think it was Lord of the Rings.
I feel Lord of the Rings I've bought in so many formats as well. Like I feel, you know, I've given them too much money really overall looking at it. But no, I occasionally watch films twice. In fact, I've preemptively booked tickets for 2 screenings of Spencer at the festival because I think I might want to see it again. But for big blockbusters, it's rare for me to watch them twice unless it's something like this where I want to see it on a different screen. And I can imagine this one I will want to see on IMAX. But yeah. Cool. Have a lovely rest of the day, boys and girls. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.